Howson's there, Billy in. A goal, Chris Billy, Huddersfield Town. The most famous goal of Chris Billy's life.
Is this the moment for Lee Fowler? It is. Take your place in Division 2, Huddersfield Town.
Ruby and Steve Simonson's boots now. He's missed. Steve Simonson clears the frame of the goal and collapses in a heap of tears. Huddersfield Town are promoted.
Mustafa Schindler has a chance to write his name in Huddersfield Town legend. And he takes that chance!
Hello and welcome to the Drive-By, a shotgun look at what's going on in the sphere of Huddersfield Town. There's no froth or sulking this week because Huddersfield Town haven't played a game, so we're quite tranquilo today. We're at peace. Instead, we thought it'd be a good opportunity to get together and look at the run-in towards the end of the season and see if Town have enough in the tank to make it over the top six finishing line, or will the choke valve go once again? Joining myself, your host Matt Shaw, we've got former East Stirling substitute Ian Kilroy and journalist and Town fan Dom Howson to look ahead to the final 7 games. How are we doing, boys?
We're all right before this, Matt. Let's see how this goes. Let's see. We've had a week off now, haven't we? We've not had to suffer through much depression when it comes to Town's performance.
This was your idea, Killer. Before you get going there, this whole episode.
We owe it to the people, Matt.
We owe it to the
people to put one out every single week. And now, again, it's been a tough watch this season, hasn't it? Let's be honest. It's been a tough watch. However, I'll be honest, Matt. I enjoy my Sunday evenings with you. We have a nice romantic hour and a half most weeks, talking through the problems that we've had to suffer on field. So I didn't want to change it this week, Matt. I'm a man who likes to know what's happening when it's happening, and I just needed one this evening, Matt. So it's nice that Dom could join us for this one because we're pretty thin on the ground elsewhere, Matt. We're trying to get people to talk about Huddersfield Town at this point of the season.
How you doing, Dom? All good?
I'm splendid. I mean, there's no Dom Reaper because Huddersfield didn't play, so there can't be a Dom Reaper, can there? So yeah. I mean, when you think about it, actually Huddersfield are up this weekend, really. So yeah, the way things have gone so far this season. So yeah, no, I'm very good. I'm splendid. Better for being with you two lovely gents.
Fantastic. You Dom reap what you sow, eh? Right. So firstly, I think we need to touch on the Liam Manning situation, don't we? So on Wednesday, the 25th, just this past week, Liam Manning has taken compassionate leave from Huddersfield Town. For those unaware, the Mannings tragically lost their son Theo in October 2024. Liam Manning took a period of compassionate leave in October 2024 from Bristol City, and then he returned to help them into the top 6, which was a fantastic achievement for them that season. Now, I can't begin to imagine the terror that Liam and his wife Fran went through, and I imagine they still go through on a daily basis. Losing a child is every parent's worst nightmare, and I can't really get to that level that they're at. Grief is not something which is linear. Either it doesn't go away after a period of time, but rather you can hit bumps and issues along the way. Even after a period where you think that you're fine, you think that you're okay, it can still get to you at some other point. It's hard to imagine the struggle that they go through. So, I mean, just to personalize it, I can tell you something from a couple of stories from me. But when my son Charlie was 2, we found a lump on his neck. It terrified me and his mum. He just had a bit of an illness at the time. It took a day or 2 to get him to the GP, and then a week or so for a scan. That whole week leading up to that is just horrible because you have to keep you have to be a normal parent and try and be happy, smiley for a 2-year-old and everything. But in the back of your head, you're trying to keep out any sort of dark thoughts and things. And it's a really difficult period. He's walking about smiling, playing with little animal figures as 2-year-olds do. And you kind of tell yourself everything's okay. Just don't worry about anything until there's something to worry about. That's what my mum always used to say. And then we got the scan, and it was in the middle of COVID, so I wasn't allowed to go in with him to this scan. So I had to go sit outside of LGI, and it was just an awful hour where I took my mum with me because I just thought if there is something wrong, I'm going to need that support. So I just sat outside with my mum, and she was just chatting away, trying to take my mind off it. But you just sat there in the back of your head, and it's like, what if it's this? What if it's that? What, you know? And you try and not do that, but it's so difficult. I think it's so natural to do that. Fortunately for us, he has a lymph node which sits on a nerve, so it protrudes more than a normal one. So when he gets a cold, his lymph nodes show up a bit. So when he gets he gets a slight lump in his neck. So fortunately for us, everything was fine. But maybe just to show that, or maybe a story to say that grief isn't linear. So back in 2021, my dad passed away in Spain, and I was out there with my mum at the time, and that was genuinely the worst period of my life. He went in for an operation. The operation was supposed to, you're supposed to cure him, make him okay. They punctured a lung as they were doing it, and he went into a coma and he died. That was a really sort of difficult period, and it's not a case of where after a couple of weeks you're okay and you carry on. But for me, I think the most difficult moment I had was about 7 months later when it really hit me. And I'd been fine for a while. Everything, everything, back doing podcasting, everything with you guys, and everything changes, but nothing's the same. You go back to doing everything that you were doing, but nothing's the same. Is where I was trying to say to that. And you learn to live with things, and you move on. But where it really hit me was when we lost the playoff final to Nottingham Forest, and I remember driving up the M1 back from Wembley. Charlie was asleep in the back. He's, I think, just turned 4 at this point, so it's his first proper visit to Wembley. We pulled off to a service station. Rachel got out to go in and go to the services, buy some bits and pieces. I just sat there quiet for a minute, and it hit 9:15, and 9:15 was the time that my dad always used to ring me, because he lived in Spain, so he would always ring me at 9:15 when he was out and about doing things. And it hit 9:15, and my phone sat there quiet, nothing. And I think that was the most difficult moment, was when there was something at that moment, because I'm not doing anything, I was kind of expecting my phone to ring because Huddersfield had lost the player final. He'd obviously, whenever Huddersfield had played, ring me up to find out what was going on and things. He wasn't a town fan. He was more of a well-wisher, if you like. He was more of a cricket and golf guy. But it was just at that moment, 7 months later, where it was quite painful, because I knew my dad would be on the phone at that point, and the phone was quiet. And that was a difficult moment. And that was, after a period where I thought, I'm fine, I'm dealing with this now. And then that moment came, and it was difficult. And it sort of shows that things can happen later on in the line. And since then, there are little moments where you kind of go, I miss him. But that's a parent, and a child is so different. If something happens to your own child, it is so different. I can't imagine what they've gone through, Killer. It's and even now, and we'll talk about some of the comments online. Pleased that the vast majority of responses were positive and supportive, and that was nice to see. But it's just it's something which we can't guess at what they're going through. Everybody's different. Everybody processes things differently. Those are stories from me, with how I've dealt with things, and it's difficult. And I really feel for the family and the extended family, and things can't be easy. No matter if it's 2 minutes after it happens, 2 years, it doesn't matter. It always hurts.
Grief's relative as well. It's only relative to the person feeling it, and it's only relative to what that person's been through themselves. You cannot compare grief in any form, in any situation. Obviously, I've been through quite a bit myself, not entirely to that level, but for people that don't know, 5 years ago now, my wife died, mother of my first 3 children. We were in Australia at the time. Instantly, came from nowhere. We even getting a little bit touchy on the talking about it now, and it's so long ago. But my life and my kids' life totally changed. We had to come back home. We had no support there, so literally everything changed on the sake of an hour and a half on a random Saturday morning. No warning, everything changed. But what happened then for me was I had to just crack on with it, right? I got more into football. I did everything I could to try and take my mind off what was happening, but I had to kind of just deal with my kids on a day-to-day basis, get them through it. That was a very different focus to what happened a couple of years ago, where I'm remarried now to Lucy, but we had a very late miscarriage. And Lucy struggled with that, not obviously mentally, but throughout the process of miscarrying, she ended up having to have 2 blood transfusions. She was passing out. It was not looking good for her at a time as well. Following that, the way I dealt with that was much different to how I dealt with it, obviously, with Amanda first time around. And I feel like because Lucy was part of the journey of grief afterwards, it made it a lot more difficult for me, in that it wasn't just what I was feeling, it was what she was feeling. So whereas first time I coached more, I did more podcasts like this, I did so many things to keep myself focused. It was very different when I had to go through my second major trauma, I guess, in that I had Lucy as well, and what she wanted and what she needed and what support she needed from me. And that changed a lot for me. Like you say, it's not linear, it is relative, but then times throughout since then, there's been peaks and troughs, such as Lucy lost her mum very quickly a couple of Christmases ago. It was a 2-month thing from start to finish with lung cancer. And again, when you match that with the miscarriage, everything went downhill pretty quickly. As a family unit, there was just tough times. And again, it made no rhyme, no reason. It could just be little things like you go to the park, and obviously her mum will never see our only child, Lucy, and I. We've got Andy, who's 2 years old now. She'll never see it. So little things like that come into your mind all the time. And this is a day-to-day battle Lucy has, and she's in a happy place now. We're all okay, but still within moments, it's just sad. And again, you never know what level of grief somebody else is going through, and you cannot second guess that either. On those comments, Matt, I think they're not even worth speaking about so much when there's people writing utter nonsense in response to things like this, because there's always going to be someone somewhere writing something awful. I think you have to ignore the 0.01% of when that happens, because you're never not going to get somebody saying it. It's really not worth it. I think the support that I've seen to Liam Manning and the club in general has been overwhelmingly supportive and positive. And we are a classy group of fans. I think it's unfair when Town fans get the rap of not being supportive and ready for criticism and looking for the negative, whilst there are some people, absolutely. There is in every walks of life. It's not that we have more than anyone else at all. I actually think we are much better than most fandoms, although I don't like using that word. But no, it's obviously the right thing for Liam to do, and I just hope, as I guess all Town fans do, that he'll be in a much better place come the summer, and from then on out, and we can go again from there on out. But the main thing right now is that him and his family are okay, because they've obviously gone through something. Most of us, it's one of our worst nightmares. So good luck to 100%. And best of luck to all of them.
By the way, I think it's absolutely incredible that both you, Killer, and Matt have just spoken so openly about what's gone on, like, in your own personal lives in the last few years. And I'm sure there'll be people that'll be watching this, listening to this, that they'll see as an inspiration, really, and that's what they should do, really, because I think it's to talk about it so openly and honestly when everyone goes through difficult times. And I think that's what people have to remember, really, when you're thinking of what's happened in the last few days with Liam Manning, is that football is a game, and like there are more important things that happen in football. Like we talk about Town, and there has been criticism of the podcast of when we've probably been too negative of the club and the results and performances and everything, but it pales into insignificance to what's been going on the last few days. And then with the sort of the decision that the club have made, and then Liam Manning has made, and so like there are bigger things here at play. And so we all hope that there'll come a point in the summer that then things will, I don't want to say, I don't know, there'll come a point where there'll be more sort of certainty over what's going to happen in the long term. But it's so difficult. And I think, you look at it with Liam Manning, of where, since what's happened with Theo, he's had Bristol City, Norwich City, Huddersfield Town. He's been trying to throw himself full on into management and carry on and his job, and nobody knows the ins and outs of what's been going on with the family, and no one will ever know unless you are in the inner circle of the Manning sort of family and household, what they've gone through as a collective. And so I think it's quite brave, really, and courageous what they've done, really, from Liam Manning to take him out of this situation of where he clearly has to put his family first. And I think that's, what everyone should always remember when you're going through tough times of where, things are happening, you've got your work, you've got football, your passion, your drive, your dedication, everything. But he clearly believes that he's got to be there for his family right now. And I think people absolutely have to respect that decision. And we know who's going to be in charge from a Huddersfield Town perspective for the last 7 matches. And you hope Town will give it a go for the last 7 matches, get in the playoffs. That'd be great. And then potentially give themselves 3 more opportunities to get promoted this season. But at the end of the day, Liam Manning's got to do what's right for Liam Manning. And so, I mean, any criticism, and that, like you say, like Killer touched upon it there, some of the, it doesn't even worth going into. It's, some of it's absolutely barbaric, ridiculous, of where, like, we'll never know the full ins and outs, but the club have released a statement, respect the statement, and then just move on from it. And Town know where they stand for the next 7 matches, and then we'll approach the summer when we get to the summer. But that's not what's important right now.
No, I think we'll just finish this on Liam Manning, just to say that the club put at the bottom of their statement that if you or someone you know have been affected by child bereavement, the following organisations may be able to help, and they've given the links in there to Forget Me Not Children's Hospice, the Compassionate Friends, Bernardo's Child Bereavement Services, Child Bereavement UK, and Winston's Wish. So if anybody that's listening needs any help, there's 5 good links on the official club website that you can look at, and hopefully if anybody is struggling, you can get the help that you need and deserve. Okay, so we'll move on. Obviously, from everyone at this podcast, I don't think Liam Manning listens to this podcast, but on the very, very outside chance that he did, everyone here is fully supportive of you and wishes you and your family all the very best. Okay, so we'll move it on to other football matters now, guys. So can Town succeed without a head coach figurehead? John Stead and Martin Drury are taking charge. Can John Stead work some magic? An old town favourite of ours. Didn't really work for Danny Schofield when he went from being number 2 to being the main man. Although this is slightly different. Sometimes these things can have a galvanising effect, Killer. Sometimes they can go the opposite way. We won't know until things get going. But do Town need an interim appointment? Maybe someone, or should they just play it by ear?
I don't know, Matt. It depends what the intentions are. I think we could answer this question a lot better after Reading. Now, is the expectation that Liam Manning will be back, or are we looking at it as if we're just going to go from now on out, and if he is, we'll deal with it then? Because that dictates what kind of football we play now. If we're trying to still keep Liam Manning here in the summer, I'm expecting us to play the same system. It makes sense, wouldn't it, to play that same kind of football to see where it was going? Because I think up until this point, Matt, we were talking about on the other podcast views, and I'm not criticizing Liam Manning personally. It's nothing to do with that. I like to frame us as art critics, Matt. That's how I like to frame podcasts, in that it's nothing personal. You're talking about the art, and now let's be honest, Town's football recently hasn't been art. It's been far from that. But the process seemed to be that we were going into the summer playing Liam Manning's football, and if that was successful, or if it wasn't successful, that was okay for Town. I think they were looking at it a little bit longer term. Now Manning isn't here for the remaining few games, and we still don't know if he's going to be back in the summer. But the Town expect him to be back. If that's the case, and Drury and Stead's coming in to play Manning football, then it would make kind of more sense to me, Matt, to have them in than us totally shift to a more pragmatic way of football that's all about winning these next 7 games and just getting out of this division, because obviously we'll take another 3 on top of that as well. So it depends what the perspective of the club is, Matt, to me. I think if we do this right, this does give us more of a chance of having a successful end to the season. But I personally would have preferred an interim manager that has been there and done it before, because we just don't know. And like you say, Matt, you can point to Scoffer, you can point to Worthington last season. We can look at Brighton Writer at the end of the championship season. These guys have come in for a shortened period of time, hasn't traditionally worked. Mel Matchin a long time ago. Mel Matchin a long time ago. A long time ago. Has it ever? Have we ever had a guy come in for a short period of games, bar Grayson, which was a very, very different thing than this, and had a successful end to the season? I'm not in. You'll know better than me on this one. I'm not entirely sure. So it's a tough situation for the club to find the way out of, because we know how important it is to get promoted, not just for the fans' feeling and the atmosphere around the stadium, but also financial issues that could come if we don't go up this season. And like a bit of a reset next year on that. We've got players on big contracts that aren't necessarily fit to play together, and we need to do quite a lot of business to shift them on. I'm not entirely sure, Matt. I'm not entirely sure what the club wants, but for me, I'd have been looking at something a little bit different if they really do want to get out of the division this year. But again, this comes down to what Markham and Kev fancy. Are we still going down the? Let's take it a little bit more longer term, Mr. Kev.
Mr. Kev.
But it's what their intentions are. If they're okay going into the summer and looking at it next season, then this is probably an understandable way to go. But I'm not entirely set on it myself, Matt.
It suggests to me
just before you come in, Dom, I will say this much: there's only been one person that I can think of that's come in March and been successful, and that was March 1993, and that was Mick Buxton when he came back in that 92-93 season and led us to the greatest escape. The Warnock one was January, Feb, so probably a bit longer. But back to you, Dom.
Well, no, I was just going to say, it suggests to me that if Martin Drury, John Stead, they're leaving them in charge for the final 7 matches, that they believe that Liam Manning is going to be in charge going into next season, or like Kilwell would say, they would have brought somebody from the outside in to take the final 7 matches. Look, without repeating myself and going back to what we were saying before, that there are more important things going on here at play. From a Huddersfield Town perspective, the announcement over Liam Manning, of course, it's far from ideal when you're getting the uncertainty and when you're looking at it just purely from with what Town have got left, what's riding on this season, and there is still quite a lot. And Town have won one of the last 5 matches this season, and so you're wanting the best person in charge and the person that's been at the helm for a couple of months. Of course you do, but you do. You sort of hope that this will galvanise the group. That with what Liam Manning and their family are going through right now, you hope that the players, the coaching staff, everybody, that they unite together. And if Town have an amazing Easter, minimum 4 points, a brilliant if they get 6, they're still well in the mix for getting promotion this season. Right? That's what they have to cling to. That's what they have to look at. For me, right, that's all you can focus on is the here and now. The season isn't over yet. You know, as someone who over the weekend watched Stockport brush aside AFC Wimbledon, I say that, but they were actually like 3-0, flattered them. Like, and I still look at the teams above Town, and I don't think it's not a great division. It's what we've been saying all season. Stockport have got some good match winners there in like Norwood, Wooten, some other good attacking players, Diamond, but generally, like, it's moments, and like that's what we've kept saying about Town this season. It's just they've not been cohesive as a unit, as a team. It has just been players going through good spells, right? Whether it's Radulovic or whoever it might be. And so if Town get some of those players back from the injury table that we expect going into Reading, we know they have to beat Reading. They have to beat Reading. The season's basically, for me, it's over. If they don't beat Reading, just forget about top 6. It's gone. They have to beat Reading. And then 5 wins minimum is what I think they need from the last 7. And even then, it's 72 points. I don't think that's going to be enough, personally. I think they'd be really lucky to get in on 72 points in a very poor League One season. Where the top teams, I don't think they're that great. You've got Bradford, who are struggling away from home just as much as Town. I think they'd be very fortunate to get on 72. Yeah, if you get into the top 6 on 72 points, fair play. But yeah, that's where I think Town fans are looking at it going, can you really see Town winning? Even if Liam Manning was there, can you see Town winning 5 out of 7 matches from the running that they've got? Tough home matches to come. They probably have to win all 3 of those home matches, Reading, Wickham and Cardiff. You just can't see it. You just can't see it. And that's where the Town fans right now, after the international break, you're looking at it going, it's all those points that they threw away. Wigan away, Doncaster Rovers away, Port Vale away. That's where Town, they threw the season of where they should have had more points on the board to put themselves in a position now where they could still finish in the top 6. And it's now completely out of their hands and it's all of their own making.
I'll tell you what, Dom, let's see if we can see if Town will do it. So what we'll do is we'll go and we'll start predicting the league. So I've got the website, which is the independent Grimsby Town website, The Fishy, which has been here for ages, but they do a really good promotion and relegation calculator. So what I've done is I've picked the top 11 teams in League One. Ain't nobody got time for doing all 24. So I thought what we could do is we could squiz through these very quickly, and then we could probably work out exactly how many points it's going to take for Town to get it. So in fact, what we'll do is we'll go back, and we won't include Huddersfield Town in this as well. So what we'll do is we'll work out League One. We will unselect all of these guys, and we'll unselect Huddersfield Town as well, and then we can see exactly what Huddersfield will need. We'll keep looking in. Right. So, looking through the games, Huddersfield will pop up in this because we do play some of the teams in the top half. We'll just get rid of these pesky adverts as well. Off you go. Got sent a WhatsApp message a couple of days ago about trophies for end of season for the grassroots team of coach, trophies for the grassroots team of coach. And now obviously the adverts when I go onto the Fishy website are all about trophies. So there we go. It could have been worse there, Killer. We could have done it on your machine and Ann Summers would have come up. But we'll move on nicely to so Bradford versus Northampton. You expect Bradford really good at home. You expect Bradford to maybe win that one. Town versus Reading. Town are pretty good at home, to be fair. Dom says Huddersfield Town have got to win this one, so pick Huddersfield Town. Any disagreements, just chime up.
I'll disagree then straight up, Matt. I'll disagree straight up on the Reading game.
What are you going for?
We're going to have to do a drive-in for this in a couple of days, aren't we? And I've done quite a bit of research on this tonight. I've gone through all those top... we're not bothering, okay. Well, I've gone through all the teams, right, that are in contention for the playoffs that you've selected there. Basically, Stockport, Downs up for grabs. I think Bradford are safe. I think above that is, well, Stockport are more or less safe as well. I think they've got a couple of games in hand. I think they're going to be fine. It's kind of everyone chasing down that 6th spot, right? Reading's form is third over the last 10 games. They're doing really well. They've lost to Stevenage and Mansfield recently. They've got results, though, against Bolton, against Wickham, won at Luton. They're in form. I think this is a game where Dom says, I understand that we need to win. On what I've worked out where I think Town can take points and whatnot. I'm not necessarily going to frame this as a must win. It's a must not lose. I think if you lose, you're done. Absolutely done. But I think a draw here isn't the end of the world. The way Reading play, Matt, we love their midfielders, don't we? They've got Savage, they've got Lewis Wing, Abattiman's up top again, doing all right. They've got players, and they are solid through the middle. And for Town, I think a team with a good midfield like Reading is our weakest thing, other than somebody who's absolutely massive and scores loads of goals from corners. Other than that, I think when you dominate Town in midfield, you struggle. I think a draw all over this, Matt, personally. I think Reading a team that draws quite a lot as well.
I disagree with this. Just look at the table, though. Reading are 4 points ahead of Town. So Town are at home. They've been strong at home. They've only lost twice all season. They haven't lost there since October. But knowing what Town are like on the road, that's what makes it a must win. They have to win because a draw's no good to Town. Like they've got no margins for error. Like, so I completely understand what you're saying there about Reading and their form and being one of the best teams in the last 10 matches. But no, Town have to win for me.
I understand.
Well, I think they could win, but the problem is, Matt, that I don't see them winning away at Orient. That's the issue. And Leighton Orient have picked up recent weeks. That's where the issues are. I just don't see Town even at the moment. Would I bank on Town getting 4 points over Easter? Definitely not. I really wouldn't. I don't fancy them at all to get 4 points.
Right, suck it, kill it. We're going to put Town for a win in this one, even though we don't really believe that in our hearts of hearts. Lincoln to beat Wimbledon. Luton, Peterborough. I'm going to go Luton in this one. Are we all in agreement? Yeah. Lots of home wins here. Plymouth, Bolton. Now that's a good one. Draw. We're going to go for a draw in this one.
Draw for that.
Rotherham, Stevenage. I think Stevenage might nick that one. Do you think?
No, I think Rotherham. I think that's a draw. I think Rotherham might get a result. That's
Stevenage aren't very good away either, are they?
No, Lee Clark's first home match in charge, and it's their pretty much last chance to win. So I actually think Rotherham might get a result there.
Okay. Stockport, Wickham. Oh, that's a tough one, isn't it? Draw.
Stockport for me. I just think they'll find a way. Like without playing well, I don't trust Wickham on the road, even under Duff. So I still think that. Yeah,
SIlkman's going for it as well. Because Stockport were a bit ropey at home for a while, weren't they? But we'll move on. Wimbledon, Luton. I think draw. Luton aren't great away from home either. Yeah. Maybe a draw on that one. Yeah. Barnsley, Plymouth. I think Plymouth might go and get something there. Do you think?
Draw. I'd go for a draw. Barnsley are a funny old team. They've got good attacking players, decent midfield. They should be higher than where they are. So I think they could take points off Plymouth.
Okay. So Bolton, Stockport. Draw again. Should we go draw on this one? Yeah. Peterborough, Cardiff. Cardiff a little bit out of sorts at the minute.
It doesn't really matter.
We'll put Cardiff just for the Reading, Lincoln. Oh, that's a tough one for Reading, isn't it? So you look at this game against us, and all of a sudden that's almost turning into a must-win for Reading as well, coming to our place.
I don't know what
maybe
it is.
A draw.
Yeah, my instinct is that Lincoln are due a defeat soon. What was it, 22 matches unbeaten? So it's a sort of Reading have been pretty good at home. So I don't know. I'd get.
Go on, Killer.
I fancy Reading to win that.
I just think Lincoln is so good. At the end of this season, teams that are top two, Lincoln are flying. I think Lincoln beat everything before them between now and the end of the season. They will slip up with a draw, but I can't see Reading winning it. I'll go draw on that one.
Can I just say, Matt, fundamentally, this is where this is wrong, of where we're almost banking on other teams doing Town favours.
Of course we are.
This is where we're at. Of where,
this is where we're begging,
going to slip
begging
up so Town can still be in the race.
Stevenage with fancy to beat Blackpool, although Blackpool throw in the odd good one here and there, don't they? So that's not a shoo-in. I fancy Wickham to beat Bradford, I think, although Bradford can on their day be quite problematic for most teams. I think we'll go Wickham. Cardiff, Bolton. I quite fancy Bolton to get something there, in all honesty. Draw. I think Cardiff are slowing down a little bit. We'll go draw. We'll go with Lincoln to beat Orient. We'll go with Plymouth to beat Exeter. Bradford, Stevenage draw, maybe. It's a tough one.
Yeah.
Oh, Bradford. I don't know, actually. Bradford probably might beat
I'd go Bradford more to win that at home.
Doncaster, Reading. I fancy Reading. Huddersfield, Wickham. I don't really fancy Huddersfield in this one. I think draw myself. I say draw.
What the Michael Duff derby? Yeah. I don't think Town are going to win at home to Reading and also win at home to Wickham. I
did the opposite way around. I had a draw on the Reading game and a win on this game. I'm with you. I think you take 4 points out of the two games.
4 points. Bolton, Stevenage. I think Bolton will beat Stevenage. Huddersfield, Cardiff.
That has to be Huddersfield win. Has to be.
Huddersfield win.
I think we've got to stay a Town win.
Massive homers. Honestly, Salik's back for Cardiff. The drop off in form recently is because they've lost him. He's obviously been the main kind of figurehead, and they're coming back into it.
Yeah, but also Killer. The good thing is, from Town's perspective, is that Cardiff will pretty much be promoted by the time they play Town. Like the gap is enormous between them and third place. So
I did down as a draw.
The title I think will be pretty much done by the time Town play Cardiff. So we'll
fly through some of these, otherwise we'll be here all night. So Bradford, Plymouth, that's going to be a tough one. Lincoln win there. Go there. Stevenage to beat Barnsley. Stockport to beat Mansfield. Cardiff, Port Vale, Bradford, Bolton. Ooh, go for a draw. Yeah. Cardiff, Northampton. We'll go Cardiff. Stevenage, I think might get something there because they'll need to at this point. Lincoln to beat Wickham. Luton, Barnsley. We'll go draw. Plymouth, Port Vale, fancy Plymouth. Rotherham, Reading. I think Rotherham will be down at this point, so we'll go Reading. Stockport to beat Peterborough. And Stockport to beat Port Vale. Stockport are going to be flying. They're going to get second at this rate with us. They're winning every game. Barnsley, Stockport, we'll go draw. Barnsley, Luton. Bolton, Luton, we'll go Bolton. Exeter, Bradford. I think Bradford might win that. Exeter are in a bit of a slump. We'll go Mansfield, Cardiff. We'll go with Cardiff. Northampton, Plymouth, we'll go Plymouth again. Port Vale, Lincoln. Reading, Blackpool, we'll go Reading. Stevenage, Wigan. We'll go Stevenage. And then Wickham to beat Rotherham. Okay, so this should give us a rough idea of how we think the table will look. So Huddersfield, so Huddersfield are going to be down here on 70. So looking at how we've kind of framed this now, so we've got Reading in 6 on 74. So if we have a look at Huddersfield Town's running, so the League One table at the minute has us on, how many points have we got?
57.
So we're on 57. So Huddersfield Town will need to get 17 points. Bugger off with your trophies. 17 points in the remaining 7 games. So that's pretty much 6 wins, or 5 wins and a draw. It's not going to happen, is it, boys? Let's be honest.
Not going to happen.
Yeah, it's not going to happen, unfortunately. Huddersfield Town fixtures very quickly. So the key fixtures for Huddersfield Town is basically
all of them.
Reading. It's this Easter. It's like you say, Dom. It's going to be this Easter. If Huddersfield Town may need 6 points this Easter to get into the top 6. We've got Reading at home on Friday, Leyton Orient on the Monday, Wickham, Cardiff, Bolton. Mansfield is a game that we missed from doing that thing, and then Wimbledon on the last game of the season. I mean, the last 2 games are winnable, providing Mansfield and Wimbledon don't have anything to play for, so there's a potential 6 there. But going away to Bolton is going to be very difficult, especially on a 12:30 kickoff. Huddersfield Town don't travel well, don't really do early kickoffs that great some of the time away from home either. Cardiff at home just before that on the Tuesday. Wickham at home. So basically, we need to win the next 2 and the last 2, and then pick a Wickham, Cardiff, and Bolton in between to get the 5th, and then maybe a point from the other. So it's a tall order, isn't it? What's going to happen? But we sort of see Huddersfield, don't we, in around about 8th or 9th. And that would represent, I think, Dom, a pretty big failure from the lofty ambitions that they had at the start of the season, and the budget Town have used to what will probably be finishing in the same place we did last season.
I disagree, Matt. It's progress, because they'll be finishing above 10th from last year and have more than 60 points. Of course, it's a massive failure if they don't finish in the top 6. Honestly, yeah. And I think the reality of the results, the way that things panned out over the weekend, as everyone expected, that the promotion rivals would win all those home matches, that, like Town now are in that situation of where they've got it all to do, and you can't see them winning the matches it's going to take. And so, there's got to be some serious soul searching come the end of the season. There has to be, from the recruitment. Again, you'd like to, I think that the owner might not like criticism, but I'm afraid it's coming his way. That this will be the 3rd year in a row of where the club have not gone forwards, they've gone backwards on sporting decline on the pitch. You can do everything you want off the pitch, but if the results aren't there on the pitch, that's what gets people through the doors, and more people are not going to be coming through the gates next year by the look of things. And so, and that's what depresses me, to get a bit sort of cosy on you. When I was over the weekend, I've been seeing on social media when Town got that result, I think it was against Watford at home, that pretty much put 7 years ago, 8 years ago now, of where a full Acu stadium.
Tom Ince,
Tom Ince scores, and but you think Town are a million light years away from that. But it's just even that togetherness, that unity, the stadium being packed, everything about it, the place being bouncing, everyone excited at coming to watch Town. It's just not there. It's not there, and it's like how do you? There's so many years it feels like getting back to that point, and then that's even before you even think about that was in the Premier League, and this is in League One. And Town are staring down the barrel of a third year in League One. That's quite depressing as a follower of Town, as somebody with an offensive, and that's where it's hard, isn't it? And that's where you're looking at the end of the season. If Town have finished outside of the top 6, which is looking increasingly likely, you want somebody, the ownership have got to come forward and go, mistakes have been made. We've learned lessons from it. We've now got a new sporting director in. The recruitment this summer is going to be absolutely bang on the money. We know where we need to strengthen this, and this. The trouble is, there's so many players that they've signed that are on long-term contracts now. So it's again reshaping the squad. And this is for pods later on down the line when we actually know what Town's fate is. But if we're just looking at it here and now, this is where the trouble is right now for Town fans, of where you're looking at it and thinking, are they going to be a lot stronger next year? Of where Town, are they definitely going to be in the top 6 when you've got the teams coming down from the Championship of Sheffield Wednesday might be hit with -15. You've got maybe Oxford, who will fancy themselves to maybe push again, and then it'd be a West Brom or a Leicester, and then the teams who are coming up, Bromley and a few others. So we don't know if the actual division will be stronger next year. But it's like this feels such a missed opportunity for Town this year with everything they've thrown at it in the last 2 windows, and I think that's where the frustration lies for Town fans.
It's a weird one though. Looking at the league table now, it's like we keep saying the league's shit. It's been a poor year. Is it actually better than normal in regards to like the equal level of abilities? Because everybody's beating everybody. Form wise, it's kind of neither here nor there for anybody. Everyone's struggling away from home. If you look at the league table, there's a lot. Wickham have got fewer wins away from home than we have this year. We're talking about how poor we've been away from home, and it's been a joke. And now, yes, we concede 3 many times away from home, more than anybody else, it seems. But it's such a strange year. And I'm actually I'm quite surprised, Matt, that on our predictions there, it shows 74 points. Is that correct to get into the playoffs, which wouldn't be the lowest ever? I think it's one of the lowest ever. On my own calculations, I had it down as 71 points, I think, could potentially get you in. I'm a little bit higher on Stevenage than what you did yourself going through them, and a little bit lower on Wickham. I think Wickham, of all the teams in that race, because it really is a 6-horse race now, isn't it, for one position? If you do consider Stockport have gone. Stevenage have got 2 games in hand over some people, and they grind out 1-0 wins like there's no tomorrow. They are the best in the division, bar Lincoln. They're grinding out victories, playing that kind of proper negative football that capitalises on set pieces and goes like that. But it's such a strange division. But it's a proper shootout. You look at the guys that are in it now, though, and the only teams really dropping off are us and Wickham when it comes to form. Wickham have done okay most recently, but prior to that, they're very, very streaky. So they're due another drop-off. But Plymouth, I have to say, I thought they were fantastic when we played them. There's a chance they could win out nearly every single game. That's the issue I have with it, is that if you look at the other teams, there's certain teams there between Plymouth, not necessarily Luton, I don't think they're great, but Stevenage and Reading, I think they could more or less win out all 3 of them. I know they've got to play each other, so it's a little bit different, but it's such a mess at this point of the season. And like you said, Dom, it's regardless of what happens from here until the end of the season, for the next 7 games or 10 if we do manage to scrape in, it's a bit of a joke that we are in this position, looking at other teams, looking at what they've got to face, looking and trying to hold on to it. With 7 games to go, the season's more or less over for us if we lose Friday. With the amount of money spent, with the amount of fanfare going into this season, none of this is Liam Manning's fault. Just as a quick aside, this is obviously done prior to that. In the failures of this season were created in the summer of 2025. I think we can all more or less agree on that, in the way that the squad was built up. And there needs to be a real good look at how that happened, because anyone could point at the issues within it, in a lack of athleticism, a lack of height, a lack of pace. I actually was quite surprised. I've been through the stats of Town this season to look at, that we're going to get into a second, how we can potentially play and what we can do and how we want to play or should play to try and create the most opportunities and chances for us to make the playoffs. But just so you know, Opta at the moment have us 8% chance of making the playoffs, which I actually think was
8%.
I didn't expect it. 8% is what we're at now. Our away form is 18th in the league. We've scored 6.45 more goals than our XG suggests we should score. So we've not actually just been unlucky when it comes to chances missed. We've actually scored more than we should have done, according to...
So we've just been
XG.
shit, basically. Yeah.
Pretty much. We've given...
Cool. Nice one.
When it comes to set pieces, we have conceded the third most set pieces in the division, which is quite amazing when you consider actually now since
in January we were one of the best, weren't we?
Yeah. Absolutely. But since then, we actually concede less goals in open play. We've actually been much better when it comes to conceding goals in every other way apart from conceding. But we now concede a goal from a set piece, mainly corners, once every 2 games.
I agree, Killer. I agree with you on a lot of things, but I didn't agree with what you said there about, for me, when we're looking back at the end of the season, if Town have missed out on the top 6, Liam Manning definitely would get some accountability for us missing out. Not from the perception. But on, like, you take the first week of his reign out, those are the away performances. They've not been anywhere near up to scratch. Town have not gone. Like, he should have got more. I personally believe that Liam Manning should be disappointed that his points per game, it's not that much higher than Lee Grant's. From the run-in that the games that Town have had in the last 5 to 6 weeks, there were way more points that Town should have got that they've thrown away. They've away from home by being a soft touch, being poor on the road. And that's where Liam Manning's focus, we know so much on tightening up the defence, but then those stats that you just laid off about them scoring, way more than the XG would show you, is where, well, that's also, I think, a reflection on Liam Manning of where I look at, like, there's been a lack of creativity, and I expected him to probably get a bit more out of the top end of the pitch than what he has done. But no, it's a general over the piece, though. Of course, like, Lee Grant didn't do enough. That's why Town made the decision that they did. And then the profile players in both the last 2 windows, I do agree with you on that. But yeah, no, I don't think you can just give like a Liam Manning a free pass, though, to say that this has been enough from what Liam Manning's shown in the matches he's been in. I still would have expected more, especially after the first week, which I think raised people's expectations.
I think that first week, though, Dom, you've got very extenuating circumstances there where it was back against the walls in a derby where you don't really have to play great football. You just have to have the passion. You have to throw yourself into it. The fans would be behind you.
Luton was the same.
But Luton, we scored from the halfway line. We didn't have another shot most.
But he was also back to the wall. It was exactly the same. I agree with you.
It's very much a new manager bounce, right? And I think, though, Dom, again, it comes down to your perspective. I don't think any manager could come in and get something out of this squad. And I don't think he's the guy, and he's the reason why the squad is as poor as it is. He's also been, right, without his main defender in Radinho Balka for the last few games. We've lost our best midfielder in Leo Castledine, who's still top goal scorer this season, and his goals per minute ratios untouchable pretty much across the division for the few games he did play for us.
And McGuane was injured as well, of course.
McGuane's been injured as well. It was really important.
Yeah, they're all
he's lost his best striker.
You are right.
That's it. So I feel like he's been hamstrung by that. But it's just the other thing I picked out from looking at all the stats on Opta, which they bore me senseless, to be honest. But Town were mid-range on pretty much everything. But what really did surprise me, Matt, is the team that had the most possession is Cardiff. The team that had the least possession is Lincoln. 2 teams on both the extremities, basically on every single stat. And it shows you when you have a clear identity and you play in one clear way and you sign players to play that clear way, you can be passive if you want to be like Cardiff, and you will have the most backwards passes in the division, but you'll have the highest possession and you can make it work if you stick to it. Or alternatively, you can be Lincoln or Stevenage. They play not too dissimilar. You can play like that and still succeed. There's so many different ways you can do it. I think our biggest problem has been the chopping and changing, the kind of being across the middle all the way through. We've not really kind of gone for one thing and stuck at it. And that's been the biggest issue for me this season, in that we've tried plan A, didn't work, shat it, totally changed, tried to do something else. But that's kind of what we've gone through, hasn't it? We've tried new formations. It's worked for a couple of games. We went 4-4-2 for a little while and it worked fantastically down at Mansfield. A couple of games later, Lee Grant's given up on that one and we've gone something else. And again, across the board, we're mid-table for everything. Yeah. When you take the XG goals out that we've scored that we didn't deserve to on average across the course of the season, we're 10th or 11th again, where we're going to find ourselves quite likely by the end of the season. And it does show you across 46 games, stats generally do kind of show you where you should be at the end of it, because that's what's happening to Town at the moment. It's a bit of an embarrassment. This is where we are yet again for another season. It's not been quite the drop-off just yet that last year was, although last year's at Burton, it started, didn't it, in March. This year, it started a little bit earlier than that. But they've still got chance to turn this around. And I do think, though, still, Manning not being in charge, and if we do go about it differently, it probably gives us more of a chance of succeeding this year. I don't know what it does long-term, but I think it gives us more of a chance this season. And like you say, it starts Friday with Reading.
I mean, you nailed it there, Killer. Town don't know what the club they want to be, though. It is the flip-flopping between the managers, the recruitment, profile players, start the season under Lee Grant, pressing team for a few matches, then it's you back off, and then it's almost conservative football. And Liam Manning were thinking, oh, we're getting front football. And then it's almost regressed again. You know, that's almost been the way it's been of where, and then in the stats, it's then illustrated there of where Lincoln aren't bothered about possession. They don't need to be bothered about possession because they're quite happy with what they are. They're a direct, physical, big galoots team where they've just got loads of players. Yeah, well, that's what they are. It is. They just.
I'd heard that for a while. I'd heard that since I last saw Popeye.
Yeah. Hey, we are top on 2 stats, though, boys. We're top on 2 stats, right? One of them, I think you could possibly get, right? But I won't let you guess it.
Most sack managers?
Yes, probably. But no, we've scored the most goals from substitutes in the division with 15 goals. So basically, that shows you'll get the initial lineup wrong, and we flex on having a decent squad. And when that disappeared because injuries came in, we struggled, and I do think that's
I'd like to
quite an
know, Killer,
factor.
as well. You know, the stats. If I bet a lot of those were the the first 6 months of the season. No,
I think so.
Definitely not since January. I can't imagine loads of subs have made impact, scored loads of goals, assists.
The other one, Dom, is exactly the same, because the other one is we have the most goals from quick breakaways in the division, which surprised me as well. Because we often say Joe Taylor doesn't fit in this team because we don't play that kind of football. We've got 10 goals on quick breakaways, more than any other team in this division, which baffled me more than anything. So if you want to go Opta for that one, because I'm not entirely sure that can be fully accurate and fully correct, or who sat there deciding that it's a fast breakaway goal.
I think we need to blame David Hartrick for this. He loves a mention on this podcast of Dave. So Dave, it's your fault for Opta.
Dave also said, Matt, that Town have got the best squad in the league.
He stood by it. I listened to it the other day. He stands by it. I think when you look around, it's.
I can't get on board. I can't get on board with that, man.
I think at the start of the season we'd have probably gone, oh yeah, it's probably. But now we could see holes in it. I mean, it's the lack of athleticism that does it for me.
It's individuals. It's like having a boxer. It's like having a boxer like Deontay Wilder. He can knock the crap out of you, but he ain't got a chin. So it don't matter how good he is strength wise. He can punch, absolutely. But he's fundamentally flawed, because once you've worked them out, there's weaknesses there. And with Town, similarly, there is. We might have individuals, and if you break them down and you rated them and you want to put a score on it, individually, we're as good as anyone in this division. But when you put them together and trying to create an 11 that can kind of play football in the way they want to play football, there's no balance, there's no cohesion, there's massive weak points, and it doesn't matter how good your individuals are. It doesn't matter how many goals Alfie May has scored. Although, by the way, boys, his XG, he should have scored 6 or 7 more than he has done. If he hadn't scored the goals that he should have scored, he'd have had 12 or 13. And if you'd have done that over the few minutes he's played, because he's been out, obviously sent off a couple of times and been injured, he'd have actually been one of the top goal scorers in the division per minute played. So he's still getting the chances. There's definitely a confidence issue there, but that's another problem. That's another discussion entirely. But no, Town have issues, not with the quality of the individuals, but the balance of the squad. No breakaway pace, Matt. No proper turn and go players. No drivers from midfield. No real high defenders other than Radinho Balco when he is fit. We're a mess of an individual. We're a mess of a club when it comes to the players that we've got and how it was put together, and that's been the biggest problem this season.
The thing that struck me I've watched Stockport like 3 or 4 times in the last 4 or 5 months, and they're only 6 points better off than Town, but they're efficient. Like that's what they're like. They take their chances. You know, they had 2 shots on target in the first half against AFC Wimbledon, and AFC Wimbledon should have scored some goals against them. Didn't, and then Stockport made them pay. And like that's where repeatedly I keep thinking, when Killer was talking about Alfie May, I just keep looking back to that chance that Alfie May had at Lincoln when Town were a goal up on New Year's Day. That's a classic example. And that they were littered all the way through the season. There would be other matches that you could run through and you could go where key moments, Town just don't seize it, of where, like, the top teams, that's what they do, of where they get the goal or they see a game out. And in fact, actually, last few months, what has it been? It's been the game management at the back end of matches against the best teams, like we saw against Lincoln, right? You know, where Town was so on the back foot for the last half an hour. See it out. You find a way, right? Just you grind out a win, and then that's an extra 2 points from the board, and then the table looks completely different, right? You know, that's where I feel like Town have been at for most of the season, of where they're like a nearly team. They get so close, and then it's that lack of cohesion in the team that, like you were saying there, Matt and Killer, you know, where you just think, yeah, you haven't got it. You haven't got that fluidity. You know, you haven't got that. It's that streetwise ability, you know, to sniff a game out of where, like, this is what we need to do. We need to sit in for 5 minutes and just defend our box really well. Town haven't got that. And that's why they weren't finishing the playoffs.
No, I mean, injury-wise, we've got Bojan's due to come back, Jolo's due to come back, Watmore's nearing a start, Bolker should be back soon, Miller should be fitter, Hardy should be hopefully okay, which gives you a little bit more cause for optimism. But last year, the same thing happened and no one was match fit and you threw them all in and it didn't work. But for me, the overriding feeling I've got is we're asking a group of players to put 5 or 6 games in a row together when they've not put a solid 90 minutes together all season. Not once have this team put together a 90-minute performance. You could point to Luton and Bradford, but I think the extenuating circumstances of the red cards changed that a little bit. Town have not put a 90 minutes together once this season with 11 players on the field and looked particularly good. They've put 30 minutes together here. They've put 45, 60 maybe, but they've never put 90 minutes together this season. And to ask a team that's not done that over the course of the season to do that over 5-6 games just isn't going to happen. So unfortunately, but Town do have talent. There's no doubt. I understand where Dave's coming from. Dave Hardrick's coming from. Town do have talented players. Can they do it now while the heat's on and there's no manager? I'm skeptical, boys. I think all three of us are saying Town aren't going to get in the top 6. Would love it if they did. But I think the cards are the cards are stacked against Huddersfield Town, points-wise, injuries-wise, manager-wise. Things don't look to be going our way, but never give up. You never give up. Turn up and you never know what happens. If Town beat Reading on Friday, we'll be there. What we Killer on the podcast going, we can do this. So all it takes is 1 or 2 results to go your way, and you just never know. But, boys, I think that's all we've got time for this week. I didn't want to take it on for over an hour. So thanks, everybody, for listening. There will be a drive-in, I guess, at some point this week, Killer, won't they? And then how the review shows go. I'm off to Spain on Saturday, so I'm not sure if I can host them. We might have to get a host in to do that, or maybe just wait till I come back. I don't know. We'll see how that goes. Boys, been a pleasure as always. Thanks, everyone, for listening. And just a couple of things before I go. Town women won again today, so they're still top of the league. I think they need 3 wins now to be champions of Premier Division. It's the North Premier. I can never get the name of the league right. It's Division 1 North of the Women's Premier League. So they've got a lot of good games going for them. They've got 7 clean sheets in a row, so it's looking good for them. So hopefully they can keep things going. And for those Patreon users, there's a new episode of the Tim Hot Tub Time Machine available in how Town sacked, unsacked, and then sacked a manager. So thanks, everybody, and we'll be back this coming weekend. Oh, in fact, during the week with a drive-in. So thank you, everyone, and we'll speak to you then.
There's a team that is dear to its followers. The colours are bright blue and white. They're a team of renown, and they're the pride of the town. And the game of football is there to delight. And all the while upon the field of play, thousands loudly cheer them on the way. Often you can hear them say, who can beat the town today? And then the bells will ring so merrily, and every goal shall be a memory. So town, play up and bring that cup back to Huddersfield. So town, play up and bring the cup back to Huddersfield.